Good day, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Sound Archives. So, today's episode is focused on Blue Oyster Cult. And reason being is that I just saw them in concert a couple of nights ago at the Palace Theater in Waterbury, Connecticut. And I haven't done a concert review yet because, haven't really been at any concerts in a year and a half or almost 2 years since the beginning of the pandemic. So I thought it'd be a good time to, of course, obviously, since bands are touring again, to go out and see a show and talk about it here. So anyway, with that, not only was it my first time at a concert since the beginning of the pandemic, it was also my uh, first time seeing Blue Oyster Cult in concert, and my first time at the Palace Theater in Waterbury, Connecticut. I've been to shows in venues like that before. I've been to the Warner Theater, which is in Torrington. Saw Alice Cooper there. Oh geez, it was probably about maybe 10 years ago now. Or almost that long, maybe a little longer, maybe a little less. But anyway, I think for a band like BOC, it's I think perfect venue for them. Um, so anyway, obviously a band, BOC, they've been around. Well, the first record came out about what 1972. So of course, they were around a few years before that. Um, Obviously, I'm not old enough to have been listening to them since they first came out. But when I first kind of discovered them or first heard about BOC, it was a movie that came out back in the '90s called The Stoned Age, and it was a movie kind of it's supposed to take place in the '70s. Came out about the same time as Dazed and Confused. It's kind of similar to that movie, but kind of not. But anyway, it centers around these two guys. They're driving around. They're trying to get chicks. You know, one of the scenes in the movie, the guy puts his 8-track cassette on, and it's playing "Don't Fear the Reaper" by VOC, and his buddy's like, why are you putting on this pussy song? Shut it off. And they get into a little fight in the car, and the car's swerving all over the road, and he eventually takes the 8-track out. Later in the movie, he's talking about how they saw Blue Oyster Cult in concert, and the laser show during the solo, and Don't Fear the Reaper hit him in the eye, and he saw the gnarly eyeball because he's like stoned out of his mind. And anyway, it's if you haven't seen the movie and you're into kind of dumb comedies about stoners trying to get drunk, stoned, and laid, you should definitely check it out. Um, but anyway, that's kind of my first exposure to who Blue Oyster Cult was. But at that time, surprisingly, even though me and my buddies were a huge fan of that movie, never really got into them a lot. Of course, I was familiar with the big hits, Burning for You, Don't Fear the Reaper, Godzilla. Um, so I was familiar with those radio hits. Probably wasn't until many, 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 many years later. Honestly, probably just a few years ago, where I really started getting into them a lot. I bought that album right there, Fire of Unknown Origin. I bought that on record just out of curiosity. I was like, oh, Blue Oyster Cult. Oh, that's a cool. I never really gave them a listen too deeply, so I bought the album, listened to it. I'm like, man, this is awesome. And from there, I pretty much have every other album on either record or digital download or both. So anyway, with that, I was excited to be able to go to finally see these guys live in concert. So get to the venue. Of course, they had a requirement of either being vaccinated or showing a negative test. I got vaccinated. I show them my copy of my little card thing, which, it is what it is. I mean, if that's what I got to do to see, one of my favorite bands or band I love a lot, then so be it. So anyway, get in there, have a couple of beers before the band hits the stage. Find my way to my seat. I was not like the very front row, but kind of front in the center, maybe 5 or 6 rows back. Um, so it was a great spot to be. When the band starts coming on, right away I spot Buck Dharma, just because he's a short little dude. But the short little dude rip some serious guitar, so it's all good. But anyway, I kind of wrote down the set list here that they played that night. So they opened with Transmaniacon MC, of course, off their debut album. After that, they go into Before the Kiss, a Red Cap, and after that, they played That Was Me, which is a song, the first track off their new album, or their most recent album anyway, Symbol Remains. So after that, they played Golden Age of Leather, and that one, it kind of has that little singing thing at the beginning, so they got the crowd to kind of join along with that, raise your can of beer on, and so that was kind of cool. After that, they played Burning for You, of course, one of their their more popular songs from the Fire of Unknown Origin album. After that, they played Career of Evil off Secret Treaties. Then after that, they played a song called Harvest Moon, which is from the Heaven Forbid album, which is killer song. I don't actually own that particular album. I'm going to have to get it. I think it's that one and the one before or the one after that came out there in the 90s that I don't have yet. But it was a great song, so I'm looking forward to finally getting that album. After that, they played ETI off of Agents of Fortune. Then they did a couple more new songs off the new album, Box in My Head and Train True, which are both songs that Buck sings. After that, they played Last Days of May, and they went into Buck's Boogie. They kind of did, it seemed like they did a bit of an extended version of that. So, of course, Buck is doing his thing on the guitar, and you had Richie Castellano there. I mean, he was definitely playing well, playing very good as well, showing off his skills, as well as Danny Miranda, their bassist, and Jules Rodino, the drummer. They all sounded great, and of course Eric sounded good as well, Eric Bloom. So then after Buck's Boogie, they kind of had this little sound effect thing where you kind of hear the monster walking outside. Of course, everyone's going nuts because I know they're about to play Godzilla. So they play Godzilla. After that, there's another little guitar solo there that Buck was doing. So I had a couple beers in me, and not a lot. I wasn't like stumbling around or anything. But it was enough that, at that point in the show, I definitely had to take a pee break. So I'm like, all right, this is a good time to go. So I go, take my little pee break, come back. They're playing Don't Fear the Reaper. After Don't Fear the Reaper, they played off the new album the song The Alchemist. And in that one, if you haven't seen the music video on that song, Eric is in this like hooded robe type thing with these weird looking glasses, and he has this like altar and ancient looking book thing in the video. Well, he brought that out to do for the song as well, so it's pretty cool to see that they did that while they played that song. After that, they played I Love the Night, which is a softer kind of ballad type song off of the Spectres album. Actually, nope, I make a mistake there. Before they did I Love the Night, they played Astronomy off of Secret Treaties. There was a bunch of people yelling for that song the whole night, so and they were happy when they finally went into that one. So they did Astronomy, I Love the Night, and then finally they closed the show with their heavy rockin' song, Cities on Flame with Rock and Roll. So, band sounded great, they played great, every one of them. Of course, the only original members you have now, you have Buck Dharma and Eric Bloom. But the rest of the band, the guys... Of course, you have Richie Castellano. I believe he's been in the band for probably 10 years or more now. Of course, Danny Miranda on bass and Jules Rodino on drums. All sounded great. All played well. It was Buck Dharma's birthday that night, too. So the whole night, there was a few people in the crowd who were yelling, "Happy birthday, Buck!" And finally, the band kind of, acknowledged it on stage. So it was nice to see that. It was fun. I think they said he's 73 or 74 years old now, and Eric Bloom was commenting that, yeah, he's catching up to me now in age. So it's pretty amazing that these guys are, well into their 70s now, and they're still out there, putting on a show. So it's great to see that. But now kind of one of the downsides of seeing one of these older, a classic band like Blue Oyster Cult play is that, well, one, these guys probably aren't going to be touring. Who knows how much longer these guys are going to be touring. So of course, it's good to see them now, but the crowd too tends to be a little bit older at these shows, and most of the time, and I've seen this as other shows too, the crowd, they're sitting down the whole time, which is, I don't know, it's kind of annoying. You're at a hard rock show, a metal show, or what have you. You want to at least be standing up and kind of dancing about or rocking out, banging your head or doing something. So most of the show, everyone was kind of sitting down, maybe half, 2/3 of the show. So anyway, as I was saying before, when I went to take my little pee break during the guitar solo, obviously a bunch of other people think to do the same thing. And the guys were talking like, yeah, man, these guys are so good, but everyone's just sitting down. What the fuck? So they're talking how they're going to rush the stage. I'm just kind of like, sitting there chuckling to myself a little bit. Like, yeah, that would be pretty sweet if they did that. Sure enough, when we went back, of course, they went into Don't Fear the Reaper. Everyone was standing up. There was a bunch of people standing in the front. I'm like, oh, these guys actually did it. So, son of a bitch. So, I went up there, too, to the very front for maybe a song or two. Couldn't really hear the sound that well, though, in there. I think it's just maybe the way they have their audio system set up in there, or what have you. But anyway, I'm like, I got to go back to my seat so I'd actually hear the band playing. Not just see them playing, but hear them playing. So, went back to my seat for the rest of the show, but I got to stand for the rest of the show because everyone in the front was standing by that point. So I was kind of happy for that. I was getting tired of sitting down. But overall, it was a good show. I would definitely love to see BOC again. The only other, I don't want to say it's like a downside, of course, not seeing before, not knowing what songs are kind of typically in their set lists. Of course, there were other songs I would love to have heard them play. I'd love to hear them do more off of, Fire of Unknown Origin, which is probably my favorite BOC record, followed not far behind by Cultosaurus Erectus, which they didn't do any songs at that album, but, that being said, I'm still happy with the show. They're very heavy with the songs off the first album, and of course songs off the latest album too, which a lot of bands won't do that. Even if they put out a new album, they tend to steer away from playing new songs because they figure everyone wants to hear the classics, which is probably true. But the new record, or at least the latest record that came out, Symbol Remains, is pretty good. I did do a review of that several months back on this channel, so just check that video out too if you haven't already. So it was good to hear those songs. So anyway, I think that's it for today's episode. If you liked the video, give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel. I'm hoping to get some more to get more videos posted regularly on here. I've been listening to the new KK's Priest a lot, so I hope to do a review of that album. And with that, I also want to do an album ranking of Judas Priest. Haven't done an album ranking yet for any band on this channel, and I know there's several other YouTubers out there who kind of do the same thing, but it's okay. Band like Priest or whoever, any band really, I like to kind of go through and talk about these things. So anyway, with that, I hope to see you on the next video. Keep rocking.